Hello and welcome to Children's Ministry Online. Today we're going to get to worship and dance to some awesome worship music, and then we're also going to read a story about Moses parting the Red Sea with an awesome craft to go with it. I'm excited to have you guys join us, so let's get into it, yeah?
Romans 8:37. We are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. Through Him who loved us. We are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. Through Him who loved us. What can separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus? What can separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus? What can separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus? Nothing, 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 yeah! Yeah! We are more than conquerors. Yeah, yeah, yeah! We are more than conquerors. Here we go. We are more, that's right, than conquerors. Through Him who loved us. Through Him who loved us. We are more than conquerors. Through Him who loved us. Through Him who loved us. Here we go. What can separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus? What can separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus? What can separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus? Nothing, 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 yeah! Yeah! We are more than conquerors. Yeah, yeah, yeah! Romans 8:37. We are more than conquerors. Break it down. We are more, that's right, than conquerors. Through Him who loved us. Through Him who loved us. We are more than conquerors. Through Him who loved us. Through Him who loved us. Here we go. What can separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus? What can separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus? What can separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus? Nothing, 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 yeah! That's right! We are more than conquerors. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We are more than conquerors. Now come on! Are we more than conquerors? Yeah, let me hear you. Hey, hey. That's right. We are more than conquerors. Yeah, yeah. Romans 8:37. Romans 8:37.
My soul finds rest in God alone. My soul finds rest in God alone. My soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from Him. And He alone is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress, I will never be shaken. He alone is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress, I will never be shaken, never be shaken. soul finds rest in God alone. My soul finds rest in God alone. My soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from Him. He alone is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress, I will never be shaken. He alone is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress, I will never be shaken, never be shaken. Never be shaken. My soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from Him. My soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from Him. My soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from Him. My soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from Him. He alone is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress, I will never be shaken. He alone is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress, I will never be shaken, never be shaken. Never be shaken. Never be shaken. Never be shaken.
I'm excited to be reading another story with you guys this week, so let's get into it. We'll be starting our reading from the Jesus Storybook Bible, and the story that we'll be reading is God Makes a Way, which is Moses and the Red Sea from Exodus 14 through 15. Moses and God's people escaped out of Egypt and into the wilderness. They didn't know the way, but God knew the way, and He would show them. I will bring you to a new home, a special land, God promised them. I will look after you. I am with you. God sent a big cloud for them to follow, a pillar of smoke stretching up to the sky. It moved in front of them as they walked and shaded them from the blazing heat of the day. And when it was time to rest, it stopped. All through the cold desert nights, it kept them warm, glowing like fire. God led His people through the desert to the edge of a great sea. They were just wondering how to cross it when suddenly they heard a terrible thundering and pounding. It sounded almost like horses' hooves. They shaded their eyes to look back and screamed. It was! Pharaoh and his army were coming to get them. Pharaoh had changed his mind again. Get my slaves back, he screeched, and charged out into the desert after them, with 600 of his fastest horsemen and every single chariot in Egypt. What were God's people going to do? In front of them was a big sea. It was so big there was no way around it, but there was no way through it. It was too deep. They didn't have any boats, so they couldn't sail across, and they couldn't swim across because it was too far and they would drown. And they couldn't turn back because Pharaoh was chasing them. They could see the flashing swords now, glinting in the baking sun and the dust clouds, and chariot after scary chariot surging towards them. So they did the only thing that was left to do. Panic! We're gonna die, they shrieked. Don't be afraid, Moses said. But there's nothing we can do, they screamed. God knows you can't do anything, Moses said. God will do it for you. Trust Him and watch. But there's no way out, they cried. God will make a way, Moses said. Another minute and it would have been over. But then the strangest thing happened. God made the pillar of smoke move. It moved behind His people and hid them from the Egyptians. Then God sent a strong east wind to blow all night long. It blew on the water of the big sea. It blew it to the left and it blew it to the right until it blew it into 2 towering walls of water. And there, right through the middle of the sea, a muddy pathway opened up. And God's people walked across on dry land. When the Egyptians tried to follow, the walls of water crashed back down on them and swallowed them up. God's people were safe. They danced and laughed and sang and thanked God. When there had been no way out, God had made a way. Many years later, once again, God was going to make a way where there was no way. From the beginning, God's children had been running from him and hiding. God knew his children could never be happy without him. But they couldn't get back to him by themselves. They were lost. They didn't know the way back, but God knew the way. And one day he would show them. Hey kids, we're gonna start the craft for this week. We are going to be doing an awesome craft that has to do with the story that we got to read about Moses and the Red Sea. So let's get started. To start out with, the supplies that you guys are going to need is some red paper, blue paper. It can be any shade. I have 2 shades so that you guys can tell the difference, but we're only gonna need 1 for today, so I'll use the darker. And then a white piece of paper. If you don't have a blue colored paper or a red colored paper, you can always just take some white and then get your crayons or a marker, and you can color the whole page blue or color the whole page red, whatever you guys would like to use. And then you are also going to need some scissors. If you guys need some help using scissors, please ask your guys' parents, because there is going to be quite a few cutting pieces that we're going to have to do. And then we're going to need some glue. You can use a glue stick or you can just use the liquid glue, whichever one you guys feel most comfortable with. And then if you guys want, if you have some fish stickers or just any ocean type creature stickers that you guys want to use, that would be awesome for this craft. If not, you can totally just draw them on there, and I think that that would be even more cool. So I'll give you guys a second to grab your guys' supplies and then we'll get started. All right, so to get started, we're gonna take the red piece of paper and then we're gonna put the blue piece of paper right over it, so it's gonna fit right above. And now what we're gonna do is take the scissors. Remember, you guys can ask your parents for help if you need to. And you're gonna bring the blue paper up and cut it in half. Just like so. It doesn't have to be a straight line. You guys can tell that I didn't do a straight line, and that's perfectly okay. And then you're gonna take one of the sides and we're gonna cut them into little small sections like so. And these are going to be the waves of the craft today. You can cut it into as many sections as you would like. I cut it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I cut it into 7. So if you guys want to follow mine, you guys can do that. We're going to do the same thing with this blue piece of paper over here. Perfect. Okay, now that we have these done, we're going to take the sides of it and we're going to roll them up like this. And then when they come out, they're going to be waved like that. So this is to create the waves parting so that it makes that path straight for Moses in the very end. You guys can roll them as tight or as small as you would like. I'm doing a little bit different on each one so that they all look a little bit different. And they make a really cool wave effect. Once you're done with one sheet, you can do the exact same thing to the other sheet. right, and once you have waved all the strips of your blue, you guys can put them up against the corner of each side of the piece of paper, and you'll see that it makes a really cool path of the waves parting. So now what we'll do is we'll flip over the sides. We're gonna take our glue stick, and then we're gonna glue the side that is not a wave yet. So you'll go all the way up until here. All right, once you have glued that side of it, you're gonna put it right up against that edge of the red piece of paper, and then you'll stick it on there. So now we have one side stuck on there. Now we're gonna do the other side. Remember, don't glue the waves, just glue the sides that you have not cut and curled. Once you finish gluing that side, you'll do the same thing and you'll glue it to the very other edge of the red paper. So now when you lift it up, the blue pieces of paper are stuck and you have your wave effect. If you want, you guys can roll up them a little bit more to give them more of a curled look. All right, now we have the parting of the seas. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make Moses. So now you can get your white piece of paper, some crayons, you can get a marker or some paint, whatever you guys feel like coloring with best. We'll just grab some colors here. All right, so first we will make a square on the piece of paper. So I'll take this out. So this is the square that you guys are going to draw in. Then you're gonna make a small rectangle right below it. And this is the part where you're not going to color. So we'll write that on there. Do not color. All right, you want this to be about the size of your parent's hand. So not super big, but also not too small. All right, now we are going to make Moses. And then we'll write on the very top, you can do this with a marker or with the crayons, Moses and the Red Sea. Okay, now that we have colored our piece of Moses and the water, we're going to cut along the square that you just made. And yes, you are going to cut this piece as well. So you'll cut all of that. And then on the line that separates the do not color part, we're going to fold it. you'll fold it, you'll make a nice crease on it. So you can stand it up just like that. So now we're gonna go back to our waves. We'll curl this one up just a little bit more. And Moses, we're gonna glue him right here. So we'll get our glue. We're gonna color the part that says do not color, or we're gonna glue the part that says do not color, sorry. All right, once you've glued it, you're gonna put it right on one edge of the red construction paper. So now when you look at it, it looks like Moses, who's spreading his arms out, and he is parting the Red Sea with all these waves poking out. Now for decoration, you can put some fish stickers. We have some of those here. You can just put that right on the ocean part of the craft. Or if you don't have stickers, you can draw some of them. So I will draw some fish on this side. Oh, you can't really see that. Here, maybe I'll use a marker. Maybe we can make a turtle. We'll make octopus. Awesome. And after you've drawn all of that, you will have the craft of Moses parting the Red Sea. Thanks for doing this with me. It was a lot of fun. I hope to see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us for Children's Ministry Online. It was great to get to worship, read a story, and do a craft with you kids. If you want, you can take a picture of the craft that you did and have your parents help with uploading it onto our Facebook page at Calvary Chapel Community Church. It was really great to get to see you kids this week, so we hope to see you next time. Thanks.